I said we'll get to football. We will do that later, but I want to stick with the Braves because you recently just wrote an article buying and selling the rumors of free agency and the trade market thus far for the Atlanta Braves. And there are several. There aren't a ton substantiated from guys that I trust. Some that I'm kind of like, this guy's probably just saying, hey, the Braves have a need. Let's say that they're interested. And I sound like an insider because trust me, happens more often than you think, even with the biggest names.
It's the boilerplate insert name here because they need this.
Yeah, it happens all the time. So let's start. I'm just going to start rattling them off. You go, and then I'll go. I'm going to start with Mark Bowman. He's the guy that I trust the most. Nathan Eovaldi. It was one of the first rumors that we've already talked about on this show. Buying or selling the Braves, one of their top targets being Nathan Eovaldi in free agency.
Let's not say buy or sell based on who it was reported by, and just because it would be pretty easy to just say buy or sell based on that alone. But I'm going to buy it because he's an Iron Man. And most importantly, I think Alex Anthopoulos has every single season we have been shorthanded going into the postseason, in terms of the rotation. Every single season. He thought he overkilled it last offseason. I thought he did too. You have to go above and beyond, even more so than you think the job is done. No, get one more just in case. You'd rather have too many than not enough. It's that simple. And Nathan Eovaldi, he's an Iron Man. He's got a ton of postseason experience, won 2 World Series, one with Chris Sale, so I'm buying it all the way.
Yeah, I think the one important thing that you're leaving out, the biggest reason why I'm saying it's a buy, because all the things you said are true. I mean, especially the postseason, the guy's a stud. The guy's been durable. He's one of my favorite pitchers to watch. So personally, I also like Nathan Eovaldi. I think but most importantly, he's going to be looking for a short-term contract. Listen, these pitching contracts are absurd. You know what? Max Fried's going to get 5, 6, 7 years. Garrett Cole, 10 years. Like, those are not the kind of guys that Alex Anthopoulos are going to target. And it's not because of average annual value. It has nothing to do with the fact they're going to make $25 to $30 million. It's the fact that pitchers get injured all the damn time. And if you get one that burns out and you have a 7-year contract for Max Fried and he goes and has Tommy John surgery, you're in a hell of a lot of trouble, especially when you're a team like the Braves who can't necessarily just swallow that pill, or the Mets. The Mets were just able to swallow the fact that Scherzer and Verlander sucked, right? And it was no big deal. It was no sweat off Steve Cohen's back. The Braves are not in that position, so they can't take those type of risks. But the risks they are able to take are high AAV deals on shorter term deals, because if something does happen, they're not screwed for 2026, 2027. Yeah. So I think the biggest thing with Eovaldi is he's going to be looking for a 2 or 3 year deal, and it'll probably be around 20, 25 million, the same AAV as Max Fried's going to get in free agency, but it's a much shorter contract. I think that's the biggest thing why I'm buying this. Let's go to another one. Willie Adames. We've talked about him a lot on the show. John Morosi has continually painted the Braves as one of the interested parties. Buy or selling that?
I'm selling it. And I think, obviously it makes a lot of sense. The Braves need a long-term answer at shortstop. I think most fans would love to never see Orlando Arcia, maybe in a Braves uniform again, with the antics mostly, I think. But more than anything, the Braves have a ton of needs. And coming into the offseason, it was thought, maybe Spencer Strider's ready, Ronald Acuña's ready for opening day. Joe Jimenez doesn't go down. Maybe we can allocate a lot of those funds that we were going to use on bolstering other positions at shortstop. That's no longer the case. We have a ton of needs, and more than that, I think, more than like the other needs, is there's going to be a quarter of the league interested in Willie Adames because he's willing to move off shortstop, which opens up the market for even more teams. So the bidding war is going to get insane. If he balked a few years ago at the Carrera, Trey Turner, Dansby Swanson class, he's certainly going to balk. Not balk, just not even entertain it, honestly.
Well, I'm buying that there's interest, because why wouldn't you be interested? He's a top free agent shortstop, and it's probably your biggest need on the roster. It's definitely your biggest weak link when thinking about the long-term future of this team, because there's no one that I trust in the minors, even Nacho Alvarez, to take over shortstop in Orlando. Arcia has to be replaced sooner rather than later. Maybe they do it for another year, but he's got to be replaced eventually. So I'm buying that there's interest. I'm even going to buy the fact that it's a possibility simply because of all the things I just said, and the fact that the shortstop market is not going to come down. It's only going to come up. They don't have anybody in the minors. Eventually, they're going to go out there and make a big trade or make a big splash in free agency. These guys aren't going to get any cheaper. I think Willie Adames is on the cheaper side of what you could get if he's around $150 million. And I just think they were able to go in that kind of range for Aaron Nola. I think shortstop's a bigger need than Aaron Nola was last year. I'm buying the fact that they could actually be involved in these negotiations. Will they win them? No.
Dansby Swanson got more than that. And granted, I think the Cubs overpaid because they had to, but like Dansby's got power. Dansby's a better defender and he's younger in terms of hitting when they were hitting free agency. Like if he wasn't going to go there for Dansby, I just don't see it with Willie Adames, who is younger, who did regress defensively last year. I don't know. I just have a hard time believing
it. They're two different caliber of offensive players. One's not very good and the other's very good.
Well, Dansby's got, he's average, and at the shortstop position, that's more than enough when you're as good as that defense as he is, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, I just feel like, and I don't want to say necessarily for Dansby Swanson because it's not like Dansby's lived up to that contract, but I do think there's a bit of buyer's remorse in terms of what they've had to deal with Orlando Arcia over the last 2 years, and the realization that who are they going to get? Like, unless they have faith in Nacho Alvarez, which they might, and maybe that's why they give this another year with Orlando Arcia and hope Nacho Alvarez comes along.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Who's going to come, available on the trade market? You never know. Things happen in the blink of an eye. A Nico Horner could become available. I don't have an exact answer for you, but I think the $2 million price tag and Orlando Arcia has. I'm hoping he kind of regresses positively defensively. He gives you 15 home runs, regardless of the average. It really doesn't matter as long as the other guys do what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah. Like. You can't expect Orlando Arcia to be the first half of 2023 because he's never been that guy. That was a flash in the pan. But the rest of the guy, Matt Olson, better. Austin Riley, healthy. Ronald Acuna, healthy. Ozzie, better. Sean Murphy, better.
Yeah. But there's a lot of things you're saying better too, and they might not get better. We're assuming, and listen, just like we assumed everyone's going to repeat 2023 and none of them did, it's going to be somewhere in the middle. And having a guy that can also pick you up in Willie Adames when Orlando Arcia can't is a big advantage. And listen,
I want it.
Yeah,
it's not my money. I don't care at all. Spend it all. To me, I'm Steve Cohen.
To me, it just depends how they approach the offseason, what they have to spend, what they have to do. See, now let's get into it. We'll do one more. But, I see an example right here with Garrett Crochet, right? And Garrett Crochet is really, I'm just talking about all got pitchers, really elite pitchers, good pitchers that are on the trade market. I'm kind of lumping them all into one. But if you go out there and get a Garrett Crochet through trade that costs nothing, now you have money to allocate the resources on maybe shortstop, outfield, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to spend it on, and it's your prerogative. But I do think it depends where you make the trade, because I think what we're going to do, we're going to make two key additions. Yeah. One's going to come through trade and one's going to come through free agency. That's my thinking.
Well, here is how I kind of think of it, like in a loose terms. Anthopoulos has a big bank and he's got, let's say, $100 million, just to make it a round number. He doesn't have that much money, $100 million. And then he's got value that he just wants to add, and he will add it in any way possible in terms of making it as efficient as possible using those dollars and cents. So that's why a lot of people, they can't get it through their heads that making a trade dollars to cents wise is the wisest use of your funds. Prospect capital doesn't compare to it at all. Some people might confuse the two, but dollars and cents at the major league level is far more important, at least for our organization.
Yeah, I mean,
so
listen,
I agree with
all you. All of these prospects have a dollar named by them. That's what also a lot of things, basically all of these guys have a value, right? And these values go up and they go down based on performance from year to year, whether they're in AA, single A, like Drake Baldwin, his value increased significantly.
I don't think it really can't get higher than it is right now.
So the way that I think about it, I think, if a Garrett Crochet, which he will be available, and he's the one that kind of has been linked to the Braves. So I think we're both buying the idea that they could be, I definitely think they'll be involved. It obviously comes down to price tag, and the Braves aren't the most rich organization when it comes to prospects, and they're not the richest when it comes. So it has to be the right deal, but it's definitely something I see them being interested in. I see them being interested in pretty much every marquee pitcher that's available on the trade market. And then because of what you said about the dollars and cents and that those short-term contracts that we're talking about, and in free agency, I think they're looking more short-term, but there are candidates that they probably would be willing to go long-term, whether they are able to find the right deal, like we saw with Aaron Nola. Maybe Willie Adames is that guy this year. But I think desperation also plays a point. This is a team that's fallen out of the playoffs early 3 years in a row. Does that change your thinking? It probably shouldn't, but does it? You're human, and Alex Anthopoulos is human, and he's made big trades before. Maybe this is the time he feels like, hey, we need to make that big acquisition in free agency that we haven't made so far to get us over that hump. Whether it will work or not, we're never going to know until the future. But he's proven to take some risks.
I just feel like it's process over results. You just got to stick with it. Baseball is such a fickle sport. You play 162 games, and it comes down to a 3-game, set. And you can beat yourself up over it. Let's just take 2024 out of it, because obviously, but a 5-game set in back-to-back years against the Philly, I know everybody wants to get rid of all the nice guys, but these guys are damn good baseball players. And, you just have to keep going. You got to get up, dust yourself off, stop feeling bad for yourself, and stick with your process because it's proven to work. And I think, a trade, blockbuster trade is much more likely than a blockbuster free agent acquisitions. That's not exactly groundbreaking analysis, though.